You left quietly. Now they can't sleep at night. They expected tears, desperation, breakdown. They thought you'd unravel at the seams when they walked away, that their absence would crush you. But what they didn't see was the quiet resilience building inside you long before they ever left. You had already endured the slow erosion, the constant dismissals, the passive indifference, the way they treated your care like it was disposable. So when they finally turned their back, it wasn't devastation that met them. It was clarity, calm, silence. They thought your strength came from needing them, but your true power came from letting go, because you realized loving yourself was no longer optional, it was survival. They underestimated your patience, mistook it for passivity. They mistook your forgiveness for weakness, your consistency for naivety. You gave, and they just kept taking. Until one day, you didn't. You didn't yell. You didn't slam the door. You simply stopped opening it. Because the moment you saw they were more invested in chaos than connection, you chose yourself. No more justifying. No more negotiating. You weren't interested in keeping people who didn't know how to keep you. And when they left, you didn't chase. You didn't collapse. You let them walk. And with every step they took away, you returned to yourself. They thought silence was surrender, but you weren't silent because you were broken. You were silent because you were done. Done explaining your worth, done begging to be seen, done trying to fix something that was never meant to hold you. You didn't choose silence because you had no words. You chose it because your peace was louder. They expected guilt, games, another chance. Instead, you gave them closure they never asked for, a quiet goodbye, the kind that burns longer than any screaming match ever could, because love doesn't plead. It doesn't chase people who choose to walk away. And it never sacrifices dignity for validation. If you've ever held the door open, not out of weakness but strength, subscribe. Because letting go is sometimes the loudest way to love yourself. They don't reach out directly, they don't apologize, they don't say the words, but they linger, like smoke after fire, still watching, still hovering, still hoping. A like here, a reaction there, a vague message that says, hope you're good, but means, I'm not. They pretend it's casual, pretend it's nothing, but you know better. You see them ghost following your glow up, and you don't even flinch, because you don't decode silence anymore. You don't spin crumbs into stories. You don't romanticize recycled affection, the version of you that lived for their validation, buried, gone, outdated. You don't chase ghosts. You honor your presence. You don't answer questions never asked. You protect your peace. They say they miss you, but what they really miss is their ability to reach you. You're not a stop on their emotional layover. You're a destination they no longer qualify for. They miss the version of you who didn't know better. But the new you send love in silence and walk away louder than ever. Letting go wasn't an act of defeat. It was your revolution. You didn't lose love. You reclaimed it. You stopped bending your worth around temporary people. You no longer define connection by chaos. You define it by clarity. Your peace isn't passive, it's earned. Your silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Now your heart moves with purpose. You no longer perform for spectators who never clapped. You no longer hand the mic to voices that mute yours. Your love isn't loud, it's intentional. It goes where it's held, not where it has to beg. They wonder how to approach you now, but your energy has evolved beyond access. You're not cold, you're protected, you're not angry, you're elevated, you're not cruel, you're clear. You don't need another lesson, you need consistency. You don't need another apology, you need peace. Because you're not closed off, you're just finally in alignment. And that's where the real power lives. They remember you, not in passing, not occasionally, but constantly, in the silence that now surrounds them. In the space your presence used to fill. They thought your absence would fade, but it got louder. Not because you screamed, but because your peace echoes in every corner they tried to escape. They underestimated your exit, thought you'd return, thought you'd crack, thought you'd need them eventually, but you didn't. You found yourself. They tried to forget, but your silence is tattooed on their mind. And it says everything their ears were too proud to hear. You didn't need to prove your worth. You just needed to stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. Now you're not just healing, you're whole. You're not just better, you're beyond. You didn't close the door, you replaced the house. And the one you've built? It's invitation only, for peace, for truth, for people who don't need to lose you to value you. They thought the silence was the end of your story. But what if I told you that silence was just the prologue? The next chapter drops soon. Are you ready?